Hey everyone, let's jump right into it. Last night, we had a massive earthquake, 7.6 in magnitude, and I want to break it all down for you. We're going to go over the aftershocks we're still seeing, the chances for more in the coming days, the tsunami outlook, and the type of earthquake this was. I'll also walk you through what I was seeing as this was unfolding in real time. So let's start with what happened. This earthquake struck last night at a magnitude of 7.6, and it wasn't very deep. That's key because when an earthquake is shallow, it means the shaking is felt much more strongly across a wider area. And let me tell you, people absolutely felt this one. I've been getting reports from all over, and I want to thank you for leaving your comments. If you experienced the quake, let me know in the comments. Tell me where you were, what you felt, because I'll be going through those throughout the day. This earthquake was reported as far as Cuba, the Bahamas, South Florida, Belize, Honduras, Nicaragua, parts of Jamaica, back over to Cuba, and of course the Cayman Islands. It was centered about 6 miles or 10 kilometers down, which is considered relatively shallow. Shallow earthquakes tend to be much more intense for those near the epicenter because the energy isn't buried deep underground. It's much closer to the surface, which is why so many people felt strong shaking from this. But before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. Let's talk about aftershocks because they are still happening, and I do expect more. So far, we've had several with the strongest ones ranging between magnitude 4 and 5. The biggest aftershock so far has been around 4.8 or 4.9. We've seen about 5 aftershocks in that range, plus quite a few smaller ones. And as we go through today, tomorrow, and even into the next couple of days, I do expect more. Aftershocks are a normal part of any major earthquake. They're smaller quakes that follow the main one as the Earth's crust adjusts to the massive shift in pressure. Most aftershocks are weaker than the main event, but they can still be felt, especially if they occur in the same shallow depth range as the original quake. So I'll be keeping a close watch on those. And as always, I'll keep you updated. Now, let's talk about something that a lot of you were worried about, the tsunami risk. Right when this earthquake hit, I put out a quick update on YouTube to keep you all informed. And I want to go over why we didn't see a major tsunami with this one. So this earthquake happened along what's called a strike-slip fault. That means the tectonic plates move sideways against each other rather than pushing up or down. And that's a big deal when it comes to tsunamis because in order to generate a large tsunami, you need vertical displacement. You need part of the seafloor to either rise or fall significantly to push water up and out. Since this was a strike-slip fault where the plates mostly slid past each other without significant vertical movement, it was far less likely to generate tsunami. That's why we saw tsunami advisories issued, but we didn't actually get a significant tsunami from this. That's also why, even with aftershocks, we're not expecting major tsunami threats. However, if this had been a different type of earthquake, one that involved more vertical movement, we could have been looking at a very different situation, especially with how strong this quake was at 7.6 magnitude. This region has been very active seismically lately, and I talked about this in my last video. In fact, just the night before this earthquake, there was a 4.3 magnitude quake slightly to the north of this area. And over the past week or so, we've seen a lot of activity, not just here, but also over in Central America, Guatemala, and El Salvador, where there have been several significant earthquakes. Now, these aren't necessarily all directly connected, but they do highlight the fact that this is an active region right now. And of course, we always see a lot of ongoing seismic activity around the US and British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic. Just a couple days ago, there was a 3.9 magnitude earthquake north of Puerto Rico. That's fairly typical for that area, but still something to keep in mind. I also want to take a moment to talk about earthquake depth because that plays a huge role in how much shaking people feel. Generally speaking, the deeper an earthquake is, the less likely we are to feel it at the surface. The 7.6 magnitude earthquake last night fell into the shallow range, which is anything between 0 and 70 kilometers deep, about 0 to 40 miles. The deeper earthquakes, anything from 70 to 300 kilometers down, are called intermediate depth quakes. And anything beyond that is considered deep. But because this one was so shallow, that's why so many people across the Caribbean felt it so strongly. Fortunately, since it was a strike-slip fault, we avoided a major tsunami threat, but the shaking itself was significant. Now, Shifting gears a little bit, let's talk about what's happening weather-wise. Right now, we're seeing some spotty showers near the ABC Islands, Dominica, Guadeloupe, and Martinique. Overnight, there were also a few showers over parts of Colombia. Looking at the bigger picture, we've had a system roll by New England and clip the Atlantic coast of Canada, and there's another bigger one on the way for California. But for us here in the Caribbean, most of the action is staying to the north, so no major impacts here. As far as today goes, we can see a few scattered showers around St. Lucia, Barbados, and Honduras. I'm also keeping an eye on the Cayman Islands where aftershocks are still happening. But overall, rainfall isn't too widespread. And in fact, some areas are actually dealing with drier than average conditions. That's something I'll be watching closely as we move into Monday and Tuesday, because certain parts of the region are facing drought conditions, and that's a concern. The breezy easterly flow will stick around while the bigger storm systems remain to the north. Looking at the U.S., we're tracking a developing system that could bring snow to Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware. Meanwhile, colder air is creeping into the southern U.S., but here in the Caribbean, we're still holding on to that warm spring-like pattern. By Thursday, another strong system will move toward Quebec, New Brunswick, and New England, dragging a cold front down into the southern U.S., but for us in the Caribbean, no major cold fronts are pushing this far south, so that warm, steady weather pattern continues. Of course, one of the big things we're watching right now is earthquake activity. In the Dominican Republic, we could see around an inch of rain, which is about 25 millimeters, and some areas might pick up even more. That extends over toward Puerto Rico and the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, where a couple of showers will be passing through. Hit or miss, nothing widespread, but something to keep an eye on. Down in Dominica, Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia, Barbados, Grenada, and Trinidad, rain chances are slightly higher, but it's Guyana that could be seeing the most rainfall, with some spots picking up around 50 mm or about 2 inches. We're also monitoring areas closer to the Caribbean and Central America, where certain spots might see around 25 mm or roughly an inch of rain, with some localized areas picking up even more. Over in Mexico, most of the rain will be concentrated up north, while Mexico City stays mostly dry. We are, however, watching some energy coming out of Texas that could bring an increased chance of rain later on. But for now, any snowfall looks like it'll stay farther north. For Jamaica, today's rain chance is sitting at about 30. But what we might notice more than the rain are the potential aftershocks from the earthquake. If you feel anything, drop a comment, let me know where you were, what time it happened, and how strong it felt compared to the last one. Because weaker or stronger, that kind of information is super helpful for all of us. Cayman Islands, same goes for you. If you feel any tremors, let me know so we can keep this weather and earthquake community updated with the latest. As for Trinidad, we're looking at about a 30 chance of rain today. Over in Barbados, expect about the same over the next couple of days. St. Lucia has a slightly higher rain chance at 40, while Grenada is at 20 for tomorrow, but climbs to 40 afterward. St. Vincent and the Grenadines are sitting at a 40 chance today and a 30 chance tomorrow. Martinique and Dominica both have a 40 chance of rain over the next few days, while Guadeloupe is hovering around 30-40. Antigua and Barbuda are in that same range, along with St. Kitts and Nevis, while Montserrat is looking at some very isolated showers. Anguilla and St. Bart's have about a 20-30 chance of rain, with St. Martin Saba and St. Eustatius holding at 3rd C. Puerto Rico, your rain chances stay on the lower side, but we're still closely monitoring any earthquake activity in the area. The Bahamas should stay mostly dry, with just a slight chance of a passing shower. Turks and Caicos also have pretty low rain chances, but over in the Dominican Republic, particularly in the eastern sections, we're seeing a better chance of some rain, somewhere in the 40-50 range. Haiti is a bit drier, with rain chances at about 30-40. Felice, if you felt last night's earthquake, let me know where you were when it happened. The same goes for Aruba, where rain chances are sitting around 20 over the next couple of days. Sounds looking at a 30 chance. Bonaire's in the 34 range. Guyana has seen a slight drop in rain chances for now, but they will start climbing again later in the week. Suriname is expected to see a bigger increase, with rain chances reaching 50 by Tuesday. For Cuba, if you're experiencing any aftershocks, let me know in the comments. Rain chances there are at about 20 over in Costa Rica and Panama. Expect around a 30 chance of rain over the next couple of days. Nicaragua and Honduras have a similar forecast with rain chances sitting at 30. Guatemala and El Salvador are looking mostly dry with just a 20-30 chance of a passing shower. In Mexico City, it's also staying pretty dry with only a 20 rain chance by Tuesday. Many of you near Cancun and Cozumel felt that earthquake last night. If you did, let me know in the comments. Over in Northern Colombia, rain chances are pretty low, hovering around 30 over the next few days. Northern Venezuela is sitting at about a 20-30 chance. In Bermuda, the rain chances are also low in that same 23rd range. Meanwhile, across the US and parts of Canada, we've got a bigger system moving through, bringing warm and windy conditions with rain building in the southeastern Caribbean. Suriname, as I mentioned earlier, we'll see rain chances picking up later in the week, so we'll be keeping an eye on that. And of course, I'll be monitoring any earthquake activity nonstop throughout the day. So if anything new happens, you'll hear about it here first. Thanks for staying tuned, for sharing this channel, and for helping spread the word about these updates. Stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next one.